Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jannavarava Madhari Gopi Jannavarava Madhari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamuna Tiravanacha Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavikarajacharya Shota Shatashishi Mad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Hare Krishna Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 All right, so we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, Text 14, 15, and 16. So 16 has a purport. So what I'll do, I'll chant the verse of 14, read the translation, 15, and then 16, we'll do it together. So Adidaivam Atadhyatmam Adibhutam iti Prabhu Ataikam Purusham Viryam Tridabhidyata Tatrino. Just hear from me how the potency of his lordship divides one into three, called the controlling entities, the controlled entities, and the material bodies in the above manner. Anta Sharira Akashat Purushasya Vichetaha Oja Shaho Balam Yagne Tata Prano Mahan Asuhu. From the sky situated within the transcendental body of the manifesting Mahavishnu, sense energy, mental force, and bodily strength are all generated, as well as the sum total of the fountainhead of the total living force. Okay, so now text 16. So the word for word. Anuprananti yam pranaha pranatam sarva jantushu apanatam apananti nara devam iva anugaha anuprananti yam pranaha pranantam sarva jantushu apanantam apananti naradevam ivanugaha anuprananti yam pranaha pranantam sarva jantushu apanantam apananti naradevam ivanugaha anuprananti yam pranaha pranantam sarva jantushu apanantam apananti naradevam ivanugaha
Anuprananti yam prana pranantam sarvajantushu pranantam apananti naradevam ivanugaha
Anuprananti yam prana pranantam sarva jantushu apanantam apananti naradevam ivanugaha
Anuprananti yam prana pranantam sarvajantushu apanantam apananti naradevam ivanugaha
Mataji.
Anuprananti yam prana pranantam sarva jantushu apanantam apananti naradevam ivanugaha.
Okay, so we will do. Oh, anyways, I'll have to come back to that. Okay. So word for word. Anuprananti. Following the living symptoms. Yam. Who. Pranaha. Senses. Pranatam. Endeavoring. Sarva. Jantusu. In all living entities. Apanantam. Stop endeavoring. Apananti. All others stop. Naradevam. A king. Eva. Like. Anugaha. The followers. Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. As the followers of a king follow their Lord, similarly, when the total energy is in motion, all other living entities move. And when the total energy stops endeavoring, all other living entities stop sensual activities. Okay. The individual living entities are completely dependent on the total energy of the Supreme Purusha. No one has independent existence, just as no electric lamp has independent effulgence. Each and every electrical instrument depends fully on the total powerhouse. The total powerhouse depends on the reservoir of water for generating electricity. Water depends on the clouds. The clouds depend on the sun. The sun depends on creation, and the creation depends on the movement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes. Om Jnana-timanandasya Garanjanjana Salakaya Chakshorounmanitam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Shvayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shikta Parakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganaptam Mitam Tam Shajivam Savadvaitam Savadvitam Parijana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishnapadan Sagana Lalitam Shri Vishakam Mitam Shah Rama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimante Bhakti Vikas Swamini Chanamane Rama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimante Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Chanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nevi Shishuni Vani Paskatara Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so Adidaivam Adyatmam Adibhutam Iti Prabhu Athaikam Purusham Viryam Tridhabhidyata Tatrinu. Just hear from me how the potency of his lordship divides one into three, called the controlling entities, the controlled entities and the material bodies, in the manner above. Atasharira akashat purushasya vichetasaha oja soho balam yagne tata prano mahan asuhu. From the sky situated within the transcendental body of the manifesting Mahavishnu, sense energy, mental force, and bodily strength are all generated, as well as the sum total of the fountainhead of the total living force. Anuprananti yam pranaha pranantam sarvajantusu apananti naradevam ivanugaha. As the followers of a king follow their lord, similarly, when the total energy is in motion, all other living entities move. And when the total energy stops endeavoring, all other living entities stop sensual activities. Okay, so this is beginning a description which is quite confusing. And so, at least for me, so this particular set of verses is describing Sarga, the first creation. And we can understand that in different ways. The Visarga is characterized by what Brahman does. So if something's created before Brahman, just like these are all like, it's talking here about the controlling living entities, how this Supreme Personality of God, by his energy, he creates, which is described here from, what's this? From that one potency, let's see here. It just says viryam. So by his energy, that he divides that into three. So this adidaivam, adibhotikam, and adiyatma. And so we discussed previously that those respectively are the body, the living entities, and the controlling devatas. And so this is describing the first process of creation. So there's different layers of creation. It doesn't all just, happen at like that, snap, everything's just there and existing. It's like, it's a step-by-step format. That's how Krishna creates this material world. There's some system to that. And so this is describing that. And so this is also, too, these set of verses are answer to a question previously by Parikshit Maharaj. So you don't have to pull that up, but I'll just read it. But just in case you want to know, it's so it's the same canto, Canto 2, Chapter 8, Text 11. And so Purushavya Loka Shapalaha Purukalpitaha Lokir Amyushyavav Shapaler iti Shushuma. So Parikshit is asking, Lord Brahmana, it was formerly explained that all the planets of the universe with their respective governors are situated in the different parts of the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. I also have heard that different planetary systems are supposed to be in the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. But what is their actual position? Will you please explain that? So these verses here, he's beginning to explain like that, and we'll read here. I'll just mention a couple. So like for instance, text 17, the living force being agitated by the Virat Purusha generated hunger and thirst, and when he desired to drink and eat, the mouth opened. From the mouth, the palate became manifest, and thereupon the tongue was also generated. After all the different tastes came into existence, so that the tongue can relish them. And there's different descriptions given like that. I'll just read some other ones here. So when there was a desire to have food and drink, the abdomen and the intestines and also the arteries became manifested. The rivers and seas are the source of their sustenance and metabolism. When there was a desire to think about the activities of his own energy, then the heart, the seat of the mind, the moon, determination, and all desires became manifest. So this continuing like this for most of the chapter, a good chunk, I think the next 20 verses or so, describing all that. And so that's answering Parikshit Maharaj's question. And so this is an answer to Parikshit Maharaj's question. And then we can see his question also too. And then we can think about, like if we were asked that question, how would we answer that? Probably our response would be, if we were asked that, would be, I don't know. It's not, or we may say, what's the Virat Purusha? We'd be a little confused by all that. And it definitely is confusing. I mean, even after reading all this and multiple times, and knowing the question and knowing the answer to the question, it is still confusing. In just so many different ways. For instance, what is that potency? How is it, so it's dividing into three, the controlling entities and controlled entities and the material bodies. So how does that happen exactly? What does that mean? Does that just mean that there's, this energy or some force, or what goes on? And then it just all of a sudden just diverges into three, and then those three things are existing? Or is it just that now it's the possibility for those three things to exist? What exactly is going on? And then he mentioned here from the sky, situated in the transcendental body. So the sense energy, mental force, and bodily strength are all generated. Sense energy. So it's not like, for instance, when we create something, somebody goes and builds some apartment complex. So it's like, it's pretty easy to understand. They got some materials, they built it up, they created it. But how did someone create something? Sense energy. It's not something that you can directly see. It's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go and create some sense energy real quick. It's like, I'm going to go and create the power of cognition, or I feel like creating, what is so many different things. I feel like creating a different taste. So I'm going to go and do that. It's like, how do you create these different things? It's inconceivable. Mental force is mentioned, bodily strength are generated. How is that created? I mean, it's like, the body's not existing yet, but it's like these things are created. Ojaha, the energy of the senses, that's understood in different ways, also like the life force and things, and, mental force, so it's like, so and then it's created from the sky, situated in the transcendental body. So then how from sky do you create that? It's, a ka shot. So what is that? And then we go on to the next verse, which is the verse, we're speaking on all these verses, but then it gives the example. Prabhupada purport kind of brings it down to earth. So the thing is that, at least from my perspective, It's very difficult to understand, and it's inconceivable. And I've been reading through these things for not so many years, and I still don't understand it. And maybe a couple devotees do understand actually how all these things work. But one thing we can know is that Sukadeva Goswami understands it to some degree, and I'll get back to that later. And we can understand that also because he's able to explain all these things. Whether we understand it or not, that's a whole other subject matter. Just like we may go, into the university, and I don't know what the most difficult course is, but if we go and we pick up, some of the highest level mathematical textbooks and we try to read through it, we may not understand it, but then the person who wrote the book or put it together, they have some understanding of it because they were able to put that together. So Sukadeva Goswami has an understanding of some of these different things about how the different senses are manifesting and the Vidyat Purusha, and how the demigods are manifesting, that energy to create them, and then the controlling entities, and then the body, and how that's manifested from the different parts of their body. Drinking and all these different things. So Sukadeva Goswami has some understanding of that. He's able to explain that. And then similarly also, too, we can understand that Vyasadeva has some understanding also, and Narada Muni, and then Brahma has some understanding about how all these things are working, and how they're understanding, and how they go. And so some things also we may read and understand concepts, and then we kind of we pick up on them, and then it's that kind of makes sense. That's like we were talking about the other day, that so then and we'll get to that in other chapters. So you have the ether, and then from the ether let's see if I can. So ether, and that's connected with sound, and then the sound, and then from the ether what is it, sky or wind is created, and then when that comes sparsha. And then you may have to help me. I think, is it fire next, or is it water? And fire has the form. And then then water's after that. And then water has taste. Water has taste. And then earth has smell. So all these things come, but, we speak about that and we explain that, but at least for me, I don't understand that at all. I don't understand, and it's okay. I don't know. Being honest, I could sit up here and tell you that I do understand all these things perfectly. It makes perfect sense to me. But it's beyond me to understand exactly how all those things happen. How is it that from, anyways, and that's the inconceivable potency of the Lord, but how is it from this energy of ether, then the sound is existing there simultaneously, or connected like that, and then sky is generated from that. We read about what ether is, but I still don't even really understand that. Sky is something that's within my, we see the sky, and wind, it's I feel the wind, and it's within, it's I can conceive of that. Wind, fire, it's I can conceive of fire. Just I'm pretty sure you started some fire in the back yesterday, right? So anyways, I came out there and I was oh, there's a fire. And then anyways, so then the fire, so I'm looking at the fire and seeing it, and then it's then you feel that warmth, and then it's, then what it makes some sounds and stuff when some stuff's going on in there. And so it's that makes sense. But, and then too, we look at things and then it's easy to understand. Just this table, for instance, if somebody got some wood and then they cut it and then they put some gloss or something on top of it, coated it so it's nice and smooth, and probably sanded it down, and they put some screws in it so it opens and shuts. So it's easy to understand, and then we can replicate that. And then also then we get into things that are a little bit more complicated. There's the science of making bridges, how that works. I don't know the bridge science. But if I had to make a bridge, I would be worried. But you see, if you go traveling, the bridges, they have these arches, and then they have these beams that come down, and then that. And then there's probably, for the length of the bridge and the weight, there's probably all these different mathematical calculations for that. And it's a science to building bridges. It was an engineer, a bridge engineer. And, anyways, I won't follow the random things popping up in my mind. So computers also. Computers are pretty complicated. I don't know what's more complicated, a bridge or a computer. It's probably relative. But anyway, you could probably cause a lot more damage by screwing up a bridge than a computer. So computers are also similarly complicated, and they have so many different parts, whatever. There's RAM with a disk, and they got fans in there, and then anyways, whatever. Who cares about computers? So then there's computers are there, and then it's like also coming out too, and then the cars are complicated. And then they have these electric cars and Teslas. Those also seem pretty complicated to make. And so they have Teslas and they're electric. And then you have hybrid cars and all these different things. And so it takes like brains to do those things. And then, as you get more and more complicated things, less and less of the general populace is able to understand it. There's like pretty much everybody like understands like this table. But then it's how much of the population understands how to like build a Tesla or like how that works exactly. And then like that. And then even going further than that, then there's like, atomic bombs, when those first were created, it was, a select few men were like investigating that science and understanding that and able to actually create that. So it's even things with the material sphere, it becomes difficult. We can like understand and see, but then, how that works and how everything goes together, it's like, can get complicated. And then we come back to this verse, his question. So just read that again. Well, actually, I won't read it again. So he's trying to understand, he wants an explanation about what is going on with the Vidyat Purusha. How is it manifesting those different things? And a whole other direction we can look at this verse. I mean, even if, we just take away the English and then look at the Sanskrit, even Sanskrit in and of itself is just confusing and understand. I mean, we assume that previous times, well, we don't assume, but we know from the Srimad Bhagavatam that people were more intelligent. So, but even nowadays, to even understand this question, or to even to read it, it's described. It takes like 11 years to learn the Sanskrit grammar, and just to understand the language, so much time is put in just to understand the language, and then. To understand the language, you study, and then to understand the question, you have to study so much in order to answer that properly and understand all the different intricacies of the Vedic culture and of the philosophy, and then the different Upanishads and different commentaries and all those different things. Sukadeva Goswami had the great fortune of hearing from Vyasadeva, but we understand that Vyasadeva had different disciples. That's mentioned in the 12th canto. The 12th canto is specifically mentioned. But we also see that Vyasadeva had different disciples, but somehow or other, not all of them were, what's the word I'm looking for? They'll just say that not all of them had assimilated the culture 100%, because we see what the pastime with Ramaharsh and Asuta, that when Lord Balaram came to visit him, he didn't receive him properly because he was, the Acharya, I think Prabhupada gives the point that he was thinking he was better or something like that. So when Balaram came, he didn't receive him properly, and so he was killed for that. And he's a disciple of Vyasadeva. So what is this? Brahmanya, Brahmate Konya Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasadi Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. So he was fortunate in one degree to get such a great and elevated spiritual master. I mean, Dvaiparana Vyas. That's pretty good spiritual master, It's something to be proud of. It's proud to be. We should be proud of every disciple should be proud of his spiritual master. But some acharyas, let's see here. By the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they manifested greater glories than others, seemingly. Of course, every Acharya and every spiritual master is dear to Krishna, and Krishna explains in the 11th canto, what is Acharya Mam, does anybody know that verse? Acharya Mam Vidyani Namama Echa Karichit. Something along those lines. I got to learn that verse. But he explains that one should see the Acharya as non-different from myself. And then also we chant those prayers. Anyways, the point being is that the spiritual master is great, but some different acharyas, by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they manifested the mercy more, or due to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then we can see that some spiritual, Srila Prabhupada came to the West, other acharyas didn't, necessarily physically come to the West. They had that desire, but then different, like that. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that they left that for him. So so Prabhupada sees that, and that's a whole discussion in and of itself, that the Srila Prabhupada is explaining that it's their mercy that he's coming to the West, but then we see it out of his mercy that he's coming, and like that he would explain. So there's different ways of looking at it. But anyway, so Rama Maharshi and Sutta had a bona fide spiritual master, but he wasn't able, for some reason or other, he didn't respect Balaram properly. So the point I'm making is that we can have the theoretical knowledge. We can have, we need the knowledge to understand it, and we need the culture also. It's a whole package to understand all the different intricacies of what's going on in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, the easiest way is that we understand and we explain, we understand from the spiritual master. But even having a spiritual master, there's still the culture that comes with that. It's not that one just gets a spiritual master and then it's whatever, just throw out the culture. Just for instance, it's like one should always sit below the spiritual master, just to make that point that there's a difference. I think it's I don't know if it's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that wrote this, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur that wrote this, but one of them made the point that there's an eternal line of demarcation like that. So we should always see that and understand that between us and the spiritual master. It's not that there comes a point where it's just like, okay, that, that's gone. We go and, whatever. We're finally, it's like me and you, Guru. It's like we're on the same platform now. That's Mayavad. That one, surpasses the Guru or becomes the Guru. So the disciple always feels in that way. So there's that whole cultural aspect also of just so the point I'm making it at is that it's very difficult to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam actually, but by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, he explains it very, very, very simply and easy to understand, and captures the essence of it and explains that to us. So I'll read now from a verse. You could pull this up if you want. So Canto 5, Chapter 16, Text 4. Oops. I'll just drink a little water real quick. So this Sanskrit's in pose. I won't chant that. Let me make sure we're on the same page. Okay. So this is Sukadeva Goswami speaking. So this is in the 5th canto, right before he begins to explain the planetary systems. The great Rishi, Sukadeva Goswami, said, "My dear king, there is no limit to the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's material energy. This material world is a transformation of the material qualities, sattva guna, rajo guna, and tamo guna, and yet no one could possibly explain it perfectly, even in a lifetime as long as that of Brahma. No one in the material world is perfect, and an imperfect person could not describe this material universe accurately, even after continued speculation. O king, I shall nevertheless try to explain to you the principal reasons, such as Bhuloka, with their names, forms, measurements, and various symptoms." So I'm going to read the purport, but I just want to emphasize a couple points Sukadeva Goswami is saying. So he's making the point right off the bat that there is no limit to the expansion of the Supreme Personality of God's material energy. So there's no limit. It's not like, that the material energy, okay, like we can explain this completely fully. It just like whatever. I mean, like you can measure this room, so we can say that we for sure that this is it. We got the dimensions down. We got the lift, we got the width, we got the height, we got the square feet, we got the cubic feet. We know how many people we could put in here. We got this room on lockdown. We completely understand it 100%. It's not like that with the material energy. The Supreme Personality got it. We can't have the material energy on lockdown. Material energy has us on lockdown. But we don't have the material energy. We can't like put it in our hands and like we understand it completely. There's that statement that Brahma makes that that whatever some scientists may be able to count all the atoms in the universe. But I mean, even like, you count all the atoms in the universe, but then it's like, but there's so much to like understand even within that. So anyways, so Sukadeva Goswami makes that point pretty clear. He also makes the point that even if you have a life as long as Lord Brahma, you won't be able to explain everything anyways, explain it perfectly. So the material world is very complex. And we see that also too, because even with that, there's the gross laws of material nature, but then there's also subtle laws like karma. And then even too, we'd have trouble understanding how that works. Sometimes it's like, well, someone does this, and then how is that? And then someone they do this, and they go to Yamaraj, but they did this and did that. And then one's a demigod, but then there's like different rules for demigods, and then one's in the hellish planet, and then how is that? And then this planet, there's that, and then this and that. There's like it's like this. It's crazy. They generally, even in society, there's like different laws. Just like if someone too, like for instance, it's like on a small sphere, that like for like truckers, there's different like laws in different states that like you have to know. I don't know those laws because I'm not a trucker, but like in certain states or whatever, there's and then on the highways too, there's different like laws. In some states the speed limits, parts some 65, some 70, some 75, some 80. In Texas, so there's like even like within America, it's like there's different laws and things like that, and it's confusing like anything. And so in the universe, it's like karma works. The demigods, if they do certain things, for instance, I've understood in we see. Indra does like crazy abominable things, but he doesn't they don't become like a. I'm paraphrasing. There's more that can be said about this, but he doesn't become degraded like how people on this planet does. Like for instance, like he kills like a brahmana and then he atones for that, or he does horrendous things with like other people's wives and he atones for that. But he still like has that position and he's respected and things, and he does offenses. So it's different. It works differently in different parts of the material world, and this is a big subject and. So I'm just kind of touching the surface. Anyways, I'm going to read the purport. So the material world is only 1/4 of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's creation. But it is unlimited and impossible for anyone to know or describe, even with the qualification of a life as long as that of Brahma, who lives for millions and millions of years. So could we imagine discussing something for millions and millions of years, some subject matter in the material world? Like usually people, they're like, I'm going to get my PhD. And it's like, oh my God, he's going to get his PhD. He's going to be in school for like at least 8 years or something. But, if you want to understand the material world, it's like, it's going to take millions and millions of years to understand. Anyways, it's crazy. Anyways, we're not trying to like understand the material world in that aspect. It's that deep. We're trying to understand Krishna in that aspect. But it's just the point. The material world is so inconceivable, how inconceivable the spiritual world is. Modern scientists and astronomers try to explain the cosmic situation and the vastness of space. And some of them believe that all the glittering stars are different suns. Reality check. From the Bhagavad Gita, however, we understand that all these stars, nakshastras, are like the moon in that they reflect the sunshine. They are not independent luminaries. So in case you didn't know, all the stars in the sky are not different suns in different galaxies far, far away reflecting their light. Or shining light. They're different stars like the moon, and they're reflecting the light of the one sun. Bhuloka is explained to be that portion of outer space through which the heat and light of the sun extend. So in different parts of the creation, the sun doesn't reach. Just like this Gayatri mantra, Bhur Bhava. So there's different like parts of the planetary system. So lower planetary system, the sun doesn't shine there, because it's whatever. The sun doesn't hit there because it's below. I don't understand all that either. We could look at some pictures, but anyways, and I'm not trying to. I don't want to take a trip to the hellish planets. Figure out, I want to see that. I want to see the hellish planet. I don't want to see that. So, therefore, it is natural to conclude that this universe extends in space as far as we can see and encompasses the glittering stars. So when we look up at this, the point is we look up in the sky, we don't see the complete universe. So people are looking at their telescopes, but there's more to the universe than just that. Anyways, Srila Sukadeva Goswami admitted that to give full details of this expansive material universe would be impossible. But nevertheless, he wanted to give the king as much knowledge as he received through the Parampara system. So that's the important point. That, what we understand from the universe and all these different things, it's received through the disciplic succession, Parampara system. So, and that's how we understand the universe, and that's the proper way. So, we should conclude that if one cannot comprehend the material expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one certainly cannot estimate the expansiveness of the spiritual world. The Brahma Samhita confirms this. Advaitam, Achutam, Anadam, Anantarupam, Rupam, Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha. The limits of the expanses of Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, cannot be estimated by anyone, even a person as perfect as Brahma. Not to speak of tiny scientists whose senses and instruments are all imperfect, and who cannot give us information of even this one universe. We should therefore be satisfied with the information attainable from Vedic sources as spoken by authorities like Sukadeva Goswami. And so I'll cite another verse also in this connection. It similarly makes the same point. You don't have to bring this up, but if you want to. So it's Canto 10, Chapter 14, Text 18. And so I'll chant the Sanskrit. Okay. So how would that be? So Ajaiva tadrite shamkin mama nate maya tvam adarshitam ekosi pratanam tato vajasurid vatsa samashta api tavantoshi chatur bujastara kilai shankam mayo pashitas tavantyeva jaganyabustaramitam ramadvayam shishyate. And so the translation is, this is Brahma speaking to Krishna. Have you not shown me today that both you yourself and everything within this creation are manifestations of your inconceivable potency? And then continuing. So first you appeared alone, and then you manifested yourself as all of Vrindavan's calves and cow boys, your friends. Next, you appeared as an equal number of four-handed Vishnu forms who were worshipped by all living beings, including me. And after that, you appeared as an equal number of complete universes. Finally, you have now returned to your unlimited form as the absolute truth, one without a second. And so specifically this first line of the Sanskrit in the first sentence. So Brahma says, have you not shown me today both you yourself and everything within this creation are manifestations of your inconceivable potency. So similarly, we're discussing that today, that this, what Vishnu is creating, it's by his inconceivable potency, how he's doing that, and everything Krishna is manifesting it. So this is the greatness, and then also too, what is this here exactly? This so, anyways, that's there. And so anyway, so then going back, to something a little bit more simple. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he really makes it real simple and easy for us to understand, because all these different complex things are there. And so he sums it up very nicely. Every one of these sentences are, can be expanded upon, for hours and hours and lifetimes and lifetimes. But he opens up very simply by explaining that the individual living entity are completely dependent on the total energy of the Supreme Purusha. So that's a very important point. And then this point's also being made in this text, actually, by Sukadeva Goswami. He's giving this example just to understand, I'll read the text again. As the followers of a king follow the Lord, similarly, when the total energy is in motion, all of the living entities move. And when the total energy stops endeavoring, all of the living entities stop sensual activity. So that dependency upon the Supreme Personality Godhead. And Prabhupada would make that point again and again, that we are not independent, that we are dependent upon Krishna. He explains in the next sentence that no one has independent existence, just as no electric lamp has independent effulgence. And so we can think about that and meditate upon that, just like we were talking about yesterday in the class, that that when we see the sun, we can think of that verse from the Brahma Samhita, Chakshur. That's not how. How does it start? Achakshara Savitak Sakaragaranam. Okay. So we can think about that verse when we see the sun. So then this way we can become Krishna conscious. And Prabhupada said when we drink water, we can think of Krishna. And people that drink wine, they can drink wine and think of Krishna. But that's that's not for us. So that's one level of Krishna consciousness. We can go in the bars and preach that. So anyways, there's some little joking. So the point is that we want to look out at the world and we want to be reminded of Krishna or his devotees or the Srimad Bhagavatam or something or the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We don't want to look at whatever, I don't know. We don't want to look at something and be like, hey, that reminds me of back when I was in elementary school and this and that. We don't want to be remembered of all the Maya that we were in. We want to that may be there, okay, but let's think of something nice. So, be Krishna conscious. So we want to develop that vision. So anyway, so then similarly too, these different points that Srila Prabhupada gives, these philosophical points, we can also think of that and remember, because we live in an electric world. So much electricity. Electricity is everywhere, and then so we can see electricity, and we can think that also. Sometimes that the illumination, as Prabhupada gives a point in the purport. So it's not that a lamp is independently luminous. It's the light is there because it's plugged in to the power socket, or if it's not plugged in, it has the batteries. But it's plugged in, and then but then that energy is coming from the powerhouse. But then Prabhupada goes on to explain that then that powerhouse is getting its energy from somewhere. So everything that we see in the material world, we can trace it always back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's nothing. Just like, these communists one time, they said, ask God for bread and ask us for bread. So then they, whatever. And then they asked God for bread, and then they asked the communists for bread, and the communists gave the people the bread. So anyways, it's freaking nonsense. It's crazy demons, how they think, But the point is that, these communists, they got the bread from God, but they're not willing to accept that or recognize that because they're demons, They specifically, anyways, it's a nation that denies the authority of God and denies people the right to practice religion and to worship God. Is a demoniac society, is asuras. There's different levels of demons. Some demons let people worship God, and then some don't. But specifically those that don't, it's ridiculous, So anyways, without getting too much into that, but we can trace everything back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just like all these materials, earth, water, fire, all these things, everything is coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada makes that point. He's the cause of all causes. Was it Sarva Karana Karanam? Someone may be very intelligent. They may go to school and this and that and study and learn so many things. But they receive that intelligence by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it can always be traced back. They got that body due to their previous activities, karmana, davinit, trena, whatever they did in another life. And those rules were set by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the proper way of understanding things. And so we are dependent. And so the electricity... So we're talking about the powerhouse and the cause of all causes, things like that. So similarly, we can understand also that that everything that we see. So Krishna's creating everything, or he's by his energy, he's manifesting, and different living entities come and they get in charge of that. Just like we're speaking of in this verse here. So the controlling entities. So there's the entities that are controlled. This what is this here? So Adhyatmam, and then is the controlled living entities, and then this Adidaivam is the controlling entities, and then this Adibhutam, the material bodies. So Krishna, by his different potencies, he empowers the living entities. So for example, the sun. So Krishna, by his energy, he's allowing that to go, the sun to rise, and the sun has a specific, track or orbit that it goes in. And that's all given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that I think it's like being pulled by a chariot, and then there's these Vidyadharas there like that. And the moon planet also, Krishna has empowered that to give, is this Ojas, also this is in the verse. Let me see if I can find that verse real quick. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'll just pull that up here. So, let's see. So yeah, so anyways, so this is actually, there's a good point made. So Gamma Vishya Chabutani Daryaham Yaham Ojasa Prushnami Chao Siddhi Sarva Samobhutva Rasatmaka. So Krishna explains that I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon, and therefore supply the juice of life to all vegetables. So Krishna's entering into each planet, and he's supporting that, by his energies. You may say gravity, this, that, and the other thing. So then he becomes the moon. It's happening by his energies, and then he's supplying so the point is that, then Krishna's empowering his different agencies to do that. He's entering into everything. So then also too, whenever we have some juicy vegetable that Avadut Chandra Prabhu, he plants the seed, and then he waters it, and then he plants it again in the ground, and then it grows, and then the beautiful moonshine shines on that. Literal moonshine, not the drink. And and then that grows, and then he brings it in the kitchen, and then, someone with a lot of devotion like Janardhan, Krishna Prabhu, or Chandanacharya, they cook it with devotion, and then they offer it with devotion, or whatever. Maybe the pujari comes, it's a whole big thing, and then the devotees will all relish that taste, and then when they eat it, they can say, wow, Krishna, by his moonshine, by that energy, he put a lot of juice into this vegetable. There's definitely a difference if you have like what's it called? You have like some stuff from the store, and then something that's actually grown. It tastes way better. So sometimes we've had that experience when we've gone to New Taliban or different places. So anyways, I got a little absorbed in that. So that's Krishna by his energy. He's doing these things, and we can recognize that and appreciate that. Krishna is the cause of all causes. And there's so many different ways that we can meditate upon that. So the point is that Krishna is the cause of all causes. He's allowing all these different things to go on. So this, we're discussing here about this Virat Purusha. And so how Krishna, by his energy, is doing all these different things. And so we can also understand, too, Krishna's doing all these amazing things in the material world. But then Krishna's also doing amazing things by his devotees that are surrendering onto him, because Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, what is this? Some verses coming to mind. What is this? Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshu stina priyaha ye to mam bhakta mai cheshu chapyaham. So he explains that, pretty much he's samoham sarvabhuteshu. He's equal to everybody. But the point is that he's especially affectionate upon his devotees. He takes special care for that. What is this? Mamo vart manu vartante manusha partha sarvashaha. That, as they surrender unto me, he rewards accordingly. So the more surrendered that we endeavor, the more that Krishna will reciprocate with us. And that's natural. If we have a friend, we have two friends, and one, every time we call them, they block our calls and they don't respond to our text messages, then we're gonna hang out with that friend that responds to us. I don't know if anybody's ever gotten stood up before. Go to hang out with friends or something like that, and usually we want to feeling it. It hurts the heart, but usually we think after that, we're like, all right, whatever, like I'm gonna hang out with somebody else. You can sit in the shade if you want, but unless you're sunbathing. But it's but we feel that, and so Krishna feels that too, and then you think, okay, whatever, this person don't want to hang out, doesn't want to know me or discuss. It's a lot. It's not deeper than that. Someone just stands us up, is like, whatever, they don't want to hang out with us because they don't like us. But in the material world, it goes so far as that people, that you don't even exist, Krishna. Some of those people say like that. You're not even real. You don't have any arms. You don't have any form. This loving relationship that people want to feel with you, it's not real. Anyways, our answer to that is that anyways, we kick on their face with boots. Prabhupada would say. And then now, probably back then, but we get some steel-toed boots. But there's people that are just like crazy. So Krishna has a program for them, and then it's just whatever. Then out of his mercy, Shiva came to Sankaracharya and gave this amazing philosophy where it's like, you're right, what you're saying makes total sense. So, you do your whole thing and you become God, and then you what is it? There's this example given that it's this useless labor. Just like probably give the example sometimes that it's like a goat. The goat sometimes has like this like nipples on its neck. So if you go and you try to milk that, ain't nothing going to come out. So they can go and they can do that. They can milk the neck of a goat with their crazy, stupid philosophy. And then whatever, they can enjoy the material world in that way. So Krishna, he allows them to do that, but it's very hurtful actually. So anyways, these people, Krishna lets them do their thing. So if we really want to like become Krishna conscious and surrender to Krishna, Krishna is fully ready to do that. And so by his mercy, he comes in different ways as the spiritual master, as the devotees, as instructions also, in different ways Krishna manifests. And so we should recognize that and see that and understand that mercy also. And so the spiritual master's mercy and Krishna's mercy comes, and we recognize Krishna's mercy, and that mercy manifests in different ways, as I was explaining. And I've explained this in many classes. We always discuss it, but it's a good point to discuss that because it's centered here. So Krishna is the cause of all causes, and it's all comes together. Krishna, his devotees, and specifically when we refer to cause of all causes, the material world and things like that. But then Krishna and his devotees also, they manifest their mercy in our life. And so we should recognize that mercy also. And so, so the mercy of the spiritual master. And so, we may not be always with the spiritual master physically, or maybe we are with the spiritual master physically, or whatever it says. But, we don't see from Srila Prabhupada's teachings that he emphasizes that so much. That is, of course, there and important to serve the body of the spiritual master, but it's not that just by being physically next to the spiritual master that so many things are guaranteed. One should do that, but the main thing is taking that association to heart and actually associating with the words of his spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada, in his own life, mentioned that he got the association of his spiritual master just a couple of times. And he, of course, highlighted that as significant moments in his spiritual life. Of course, it's important. But he had that association, and then that was, of course, Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee and completely always inspired. But for our benefit, he showed that was very inspiration for him in his Krishna consciousness. And then also some things he heard in the Bhagavad Gita. He mentioned like that. And so, but we don't hear Srila Prabhupada explaining so much that, that giving so much emphasis that, he said it himself that his godbrothers and things, they had so much association with the spiritual master and things like that. And he didn't, but he had very much faith. He placed a lot of emphasis on having faith, because the thing is that we may be with the spiritual master, and we may, see him and associate with him and talk with him. But if we don't have that faith, then the knowledge will not manifest and complete. Because the thing is that if we don't have faith, there may be some doubt that, what if he's right or this or that. And we've seen that also. Well, I've seen, I don't know, maybe you haven't seen. But with some of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, and then some of, any other devotees also that are initiated by Prabhupada's disciples, that they don't have full faith in the teachings of their spiritual master, what they're saying, and then they begin to think, well, they said this and that, and they're coming from this social background and this and that, and they're not aware. They put the guru under the material lenses. Well, they made a mistake here and this and that. So the thing is that they didn't have that full faith. They may have had faith, and then it may have gotten challenged, or whatever the situation may have been. But where the point is that the disciple has to develop full faith in the guru, and then whether we have that association for 5 minutes or for 50 years, we'll be safe, because we'll take that association. Well, there won't be any blockage, because the guru's mercy is there full. Krishna's mercy is there full. It's 100%. sunshine. But just like, Prabhu, he moved out of the sunshine. So we move out of the mercy of the spiritual master, out of Krishna. It's not, unless we make an offense, then they withdraw it. But then that's also too, we put ourselves out of that. So that mercy is there in full. And so we're trying to learn how to absorb that mercy fully, for lack of a better word. So how do we obtain the full mercy of the spiritual master? How do we not have any of these, these coverings? Just like material world there's so many coverings in the material world if we read about it. So many thousands of miles of, ego, or not thousands of miles, more than that, millions of ego, and then mind, intelligence, so many different coverings there are in the universe. It's crazy. Krishna's able to get through all that. Golokar, Premadana, Harinam Sankirtan. Krishna's able to get through all that very easily. But it's difficult for that mercy to come through if we ourselves lock ourselves away, if we put a blockage between us and the spiritual master, us and the devotees. We don't gain anything by doing that. We lose so much if we actually do that. So we could think about it too. We're not going to break out of the material world and just fly out to Vaikuntha. We're not going to do that. Nobody's going to do that. But Krishna, he's able to do that by his inconceivable potency. He sends his devotees. He sends acharyas. He sends the Shastra. So much that he sends, just for us to just kind of hey, I'm here. If you're willing to turn around and engage in service with me, a full opportunity to do that. This book, Brihat Bhagavatamrita, discusses this point. And so there's so much, and there's so many different universes. It's mind blowing. So, but that mercy is coming through. But then but if we put that wall around ourselves, that's the thing. And then the jiva has that independence. That, okay, I want to serve Krishna. I don't want to serve Krishna. I want to know about Krishna. I don't want to know about Krishna. And Krishna respects that. So, and then he says, okay, you don't want to know about me. So then, whatever. Just like Arjuna, where Krishna said, behold, Arjuna, the army or whatever, the sons of the army, he says like that. He shows and he takes them, Sena yor upayor madhye. He takes them to the middle of the battle of Kurukshetra. He says, behold, see this. So Krishna too, all right, you don't want to know of me? Then, here's my illusory energy. This is my mercy also. Another verse just popped into my mind. I'll read that real quick. I don't have the Sanskrit. I don't want to pull it up, but anyways, I have the reference. So this is from the 10th canto, chapter 10, text 5 to 7. And so the translation is, taking the boat of Krishna's lotus feet, my grandfather Arjuna and others crossed the ocean of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in which such commanders as Bhishmadev resembled great fish that could very easily swallow them. And then this is an important point. By the mercy of Lord Krishna, my grandfathers crossed this ocean, which was very difficult to cross, as easily as one steps over the hoof print of a calf. Because my mother, this is Parikshit Maharaj talking. Because my mother surrendered unto Lord Krishna's lotus feet, the Sudarshan chakra in hand entered her womb and saved my body, the body of the last remaining descendant of the Kurus and the Pandavas, which was almost destroyed by the fiery weapon of Ashvatthama. Lord Sri Krishna, appearing within and outside all materially embodied living beings by his own potency in the forms of eternal time, that is, as Paramatma and as Virat Rupa, what we're talking about today, gave liberation to everyone, either as cruel death or as life, kindly enlightened me by describing his transcendental characteristics. So we can see, Sena yor upayor madhye. So he took Arjuna to the center. And then as Parikshit Maharaj is making the point, by the mercy of Lord Krishna, something super difficult and difficult, they crossed over. How was that able to happen? One understanding we can have is that because Arjuna was he surrendered to Krishna, completely. That pastime is there. There was, of course, Arjuna, he didn't want to surrender to Krishna in the beginning. So, we can only imagine, we don't have to imagine, but the point is that Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, and so therefore he was able to do the most difficult thing very easily, just as you step over a hoof print of a calf. It's freaking crazy. We can't even imagine. I was talking to another devotee recently, And I was just explaining that, like, in my life and other devotees' lives, I've seen, and we've all had the experience. We may have been in really difficult situations, like how are we going to do this? How are we going to overcome that? It could have been something difficult, or we're trying to do something for the mercy of the spiritual master, and really like clogging our brain about that, and just really trying hard and really, really struggling, or whatever it is. But then somehow there's like everything just pulls through last minute, and then just like Krishna just really comes through, and it's like we see that out on Sankirtan, a day, like we're struggling or whatever, and people start taking books. But the thing is, it's not just like we see that on Sankirtan, that's like ecstatic when that happens that day, but it's also like our whole life. We could be like going, if we give our whole life just pushing, and then when it doesn't seem like, these desires are going to go away or whatever, but I'm going to keep going. In a second, Krishna could take like so much things away, all obstacles, all problems, things like that. We see too, like, there's the example of Biva Mangala Thakur, great Vaishnavacharya. He had his own little struggle that he was going through. But then somehow or other, by the mercy of Krishna, it just clicked. And he was able to overcome, this great anartha that he was struggling with. And this that was hindering his devotional service. And then he went forward with that. And then he had another problem that came. And then Krishna within his heart inspired him. And as the story goes, he plucked out his eyes, because he became attracted to some woman. And so he was thinking, this is it. So he made himself blind. Of course, we're not going to make ourselves blind. But the thing is that he did that. And anyways, all those beautiful poetries are there about Krishna. So he personally saw Krishna, and Krishna interact with him. So he wasn't a loser by giving away his eyes. So Krishna will always come through, and Krishna will always protect us. The spiritual master will always protect us. But we have to have that faith, and we have to surrender. We shouldn't be satisfied with some, anyways, I don't want to use a cuss word, but with a half approach to Krishna consciousness. We shouldn't be satisfied with, kind of following the process of Krishna consciousness. We shouldn't become, what's the word I'm looking for? We shouldn't water down. No, we shouldn't take it cheaply. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that we shouldn't, just like eat karmi grains and then, be a part of bogus kirtans and listen to bogus kirtans. We should take the Krishna consciousness purely, and we should endeavor in that way. And so that mercy is there, and that mercy is coming through the spiritual master. And so we should take that, and that mercy may manifest in different ways. And now I will reference another verse in this connection. I didn't get you can pull this up if you want. So pull up, I have two things here. So pull up Canto, it's the same verse, but it's in different contexts. So pull up Canto 3, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila, chapter 7, text 11. And then I'm also going to pull up another verse here, then I'll decide which one I want to go with. Antya-lila 7:11. So you pull that up. And then let me see the... Okay, so just scroll down to the translation. Okay, let me see here. Okay, so yeah, I'll read two things. Okay. So anyways, so I'm right now, don't pull up this, but I'm reading from Antya-lila chapter 2, text 14. So, Say jiva nija bhakti karane prakashe, tara darshane vaishnava hoya sarva deshe. And so the translation of that is, so thus he empowered living beings, his pure devotees, by manifesting in them so much of his own devotion that people in all other countries became devotees by seeing them. And then specifically the purport. So I stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is the verse I have up here, Kali Lera Dharma, Krishna Nama Sankirtana. Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tara Parvatartana. Unless one is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one cannot spread the holy names of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra throughout the world. Persons who do so are empowered. Therefore, they are someday called Avesha avatars, or empowered incarnations, for they are empowered with the power of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so then I'll read this verse also. So this is another translation, just a different way. The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is a chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. And so specifically with that, I just want to make the point is that, so the same things that we're talking about. So the mercy of the spiritual master is coming through. So we should do in our best ability to not block that and to allow that to come through and to be open to the blessings that the spiritual master wants to give. The spiritual master doesn't want to give material opulences. The spiritual master wants to give us Krishna. And the spiritual master wants to give us Krishna, and then the spiritual master wants us to give Krishna to others. Krishna consciousness. And so we have to be open and we have to be receptive to that. And, obviously too in this verse the point is being made, so one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. So obviously very many different things could be spoken of. Prabhupada mentioned different things in his purport. Prabhupada, obviously we understand that Srila Prabhupada greatly epitomized this verse because he spread the holy name all over the planet. And all similarly too, this is going on today of devotees, going out and distributing huge quantity of books, which isn't happening anywhere else in the world. And so this mercy and this power is coming through, and this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowering the spreading of the holy names, spreading of Krishna consciousness within the world. We cannot distribute books unless we're empowered by Krishna. And then some people will say, well, people are distributing books and they're not following. They may distribute and do these things for some time, but anyways, that's besides the point. That may be there, whatever. But the point is that for one to seriously take to heart the Sankirtan movement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one has to have that faith, that desire, and then one is empowered. But then bringing back to that same point, so that mercy is coming through. It's open for everybody. And we should recognize that, appreciate that, and we can see that, just like some of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers were envious of Srila Prabhupada, and they weren't willing to recognize that something wonderful is going on with Srila Prabhupada. And even today, still people are envious. Just like I saw when I was in Navadvip some years ago, I don't know, maybe some Vaishnav, whatever, but there was some big billboard saying he will spread Lord Chaitanya's name all over the world. But it's already happened. Srila Prabhupada did it. Why not put a poster of Srila Prabhupada recognizing that he did that? But the thing is, I don't know who did it, I don't know who said it, but it seems to me a little envious. All respect to whoever were involved with that. So Srila Prabhupada did that. And so similarly, we should also recognize disciples of Srila Prabhupada and disciples who are grand disciples and devotees who are engaging in the Sankirtan movement and surrendering their life and taking all inconveniences for that and understanding that they are empowered by Krishna to do that service and Krishna's mercy is there. Seeing that and recognizing that. And then that mercy may manifest differently for different individuals. And we see that in Lord Chaitanya's pastime. Some devotees were expert in different things. Ramananda Roy is different from Sarup Damodar. They're both greatly empowered devotees. Nityananda Prabhu went on. And everybody, the mercy of Lord Chaitanya manifested in different ways for spreading Krishna consciousness and Krishna conscious activities. But specifically, just like I was stating in the beginning of the class, that when we see Srila Prabhupada, how much he did, and it's in some ways Vyasadeva was there, of course, not different. He wrote down the Vedas and things like that. But Srila Prabhupada really took that point home, and Tad Vishargo, causing a revolution in the lives of impious people. So we recognize that and we see that, and we're indebted to that. Just like if, for instance, to use the army example that Srila Prabhupada always used, the soldiers on the front line. So the soldiers on the front line, the book distributors are fighting. And, they may bust into a city that's overtaken by Kali and then take down some of Kali's guards. And then they may save some of the conditioned souls that are suffering or whatever, or like that, do some amazing heroic activities. And then we see that also, just like, even on the material sphere. If some kid is in a house that's on fire or people or whatever, and then the firemen come and save them, that fireman that went in there and saved them, they're indebted to that person or whatever. And they're extremely happy and like that. And so even though that fireman or that soldier, there's so much that goes into that. That soldier, probably there's medics, and then there's, cooks and all those different things. But that specifically that soldier that went out and saved those individuals that were in that condition, they're recognized more because that they saved that individual from the clutches of the material energy. So that should also be understood and should also be seen. So it's all working together. But those who put themselves out further, the Krishna recognizes them. And that's also explained in the Bhagavad Gita, those who preach my message. Prabhupada explained this also. So Srila Prabhupada, we see that and recognize that. And then we should also recognize that with devotees nowadays. We shouldn't, devotees are empowered also. And Prabhupada recognized that with some of his disciples too. With Tripurari Maharaj, he called them the incarnation of book distribution. And there's devotees that are distributing much more books than Tripurari Maharaj was doing in his time. But then also, to bring it back to the main point and to tie it in all together, even with all those things said, we see with Srila Prabhupada in his life, that even though so many wonderful things he was doing and groundbreaking work that he was establishing, he never for a second forgot that there was a mercy of his spiritual master and the predecessor acharyas. So in our own lives, if we do something wonderful or do something great, we should recognize that it's coming from the mercy of the spiritual master. We should never forget that. If we forget that, then we're finished immediately. Because then we forget everything. Then why not think that we created the cosmic manifestation? So it's there to impress, and Prabhupada is making that the cause of all causes. So the mercy is coming from the spiritual master. And the spiritual master is getting his mercy from Krishna. We sing this every morning. Praptasya kalana gunana vasya. So like that, an ocean of mercy. So that's there and that's coming. And so we have to remember that. And just like in this verse, it's explaining, as followers of a king follow their Lord. Similarly, when the total energy is in motion, all other living entities move. And when the total energy stops, stops endeavoring, all other living entities stop sensual activity. So we can say the same thing. As long as we're following the king, and we could take that as Krishna, or as disciples, we can take that as our spiritual master. So many different things will manifest. The material, all the opulences, everything's, there for us to utilize in Krishna's service. But as soon as we stop following the spiritual master, then we're cut off, and then we don't get, all the opulences as we were before. We may get, Prabhupada said like that his disciples, that his godbrothers got the property, but he got the ability to preach all over the world. He mentions that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we have to stick with that. We have to serve the spiritual master. We have to follow him. We have to remember our position always. We have to remember our position, but then we also have to recognize the position of those who are great. It's not that, it just comes from Krishna and everything. So anyways, what's the difference between that? We should recognize devotees that are doing amazing things and serving in amazing ways. And we should want to serve all devotees, big devotees, small devotees, but specifically that mercy is coming through. We should recognize that, and we should see that and appreciate that. And otherwise, we don't want to be ungrateful of that. And so we should see that and understand that. And then also too, if we're getting some mercy, then we should recognize where it's coming from too. So both things have to be there. And so we can see that in Srila Prabhupada's life, and we shouldn't just think that this is just some history and things like that. These things can repeat themselves and stuff. So we should always be on guard, and we should recognize the mercy of the Lord, and we should also recognize the mercy of the Lord upon us, and always remain on track, and always give credit where credit is due. So Hare Krishna. I'll take some questions now. I think somebody is going to call.
I got him here.
Okay. So
Go ahead, Prabhus.
can you come closer so I can answer
Can you
him?
hear me?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Maybe I'll put on the mic, actually.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah.
Huh?
Hare Krishna.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Bro, so pranam. So, I was really amazed at the point Srila Prabhupada made. I never thought like it was, I never heard like such an amazing explanation of Sarva Karana Karanam,
Yeah.
how Prabhupada just taking from the example of a light bulb. Light bulb gets the electricity from the, from the light source, like current, power plant. What is it called?
Yeah.
Power plant. And the power plant gets the electricity from water. Water gets the, comes from the cloud, and cloud comes from the sun, and sun comes from the creation. The creation sustains itself on Krishna, and therefore Krishna Sarva Karana Karana. That was such an amazing explanation, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just so amazed. I was saying this is like the most amazing thing I've ever heard in my life, actually. So I never, a million years. I mean, how many times have we done on lights and fans and all this stuff? But Srila Prabhupada, Ritirtam Yat Pratiyeta, he's able to see everything in relationship with Krishna.
Yeah.
And he says such an amazing thing. What an amazing point.
Yeah.
That was so amazing. And it's you were mentioning this what's it called? This Maharaj, just reading lots of books back in the day, we can just see like a big difference, now just see how he is and how he was, and it's just like it's always sobering to remember that these, at least as far as I'm concerned, these devotees were so much more surrendered than I can ever imagine to be in my life. And if they are right now where they are because they more or less have cut themselves off in the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, then what about some insignificant conditioned soul like myself? Just like, I always tell myself, if it could happen to them, it could happen to me. And it's like, and to be honest, it's like, it's more prone to happen to those like myself than anyone else, fighting with false ego. Therefore, I just always think we should always remember and depend on the mercy of the spiritual master, because without the mercy of the spiritual master, we'll all be doomed,
Yeah.
We'll really be doomed, and like, cutting ourselves off that mercy is like the dumbest thing we could do. I was just thinking there was this one person, he wanted to come to the Shravanam Kedanam camp with his wife. He got newly married, this was recently, last year. And, he wanted to come and he had asked, help that can you buy my ticket and I'll pay you guys back. Come to Shravanam Kedanam camp. He said, alright, whatever. I think, I don't know, some deal was worked out with him.
Yeah.
This fellow was so spaced out that he didn't realize when his tickets were, and he missed his flight. And he didn't come. And he was getting into the academia, like this academic world, where he could that's what he's gonna do for a living.
Yeah.
And then Guru Maharaj, if you remember in last year's Shravanam Kedanam camp, he was speaking about devotees in academia. I don't know how to say that word. How do you say it?
Academia.
Academia. So Guru Maharaj was speaking with him. He was saying, I wish I was there. He was exactly what Maharaj is speaking. Anyway, he paid us back for his ticket. But now, this guy, he basically got initiated by someone from the Nityananda Vamsha, the Upper Sampradaya.
Yeah.
Basically rejecting himself, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada and his faithful followers' mercy. How unfortunate. Everything was there for him. But then, must be some insincere thing went on, something, otherwise how will you completely reject the entire Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya more or less and take shelter of Prakrita Sahajas,
Yeah.
who Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself calls these are Jat Gosais, that's who they are. But it all depends on feelings and all this and all that, But one may wonder, why do I need to know the Visarga and Sarga and clouds and ether and sky and all this? Why do I need to know? Hey, Siddhanta bolye chite na karo alas. If you don't understand Siddhanta, then you'll also end up like that fool,
Yeah.
Therefore, we should know these things. We should rack our brain. We should not think, anyway, I'm not so intelligent, I'm such a stupid fellow, I don't need to read Prabhupada's books or understand this. I'll just do service. And you'll do service and you'll be taken advantage of. Therefore, Siddhanta bolye chite na karo alas. We should not be lazy in understanding Siddhanta. So anyway, I was just thinking of that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right.
Sh- All right, Hare Krishna.
Hare
I guess I'll respond to his thing. I guess he'll hear it on there. But one thing, anyway, anyways, whatever. But I was thinking one thing also that what you were saying, Mahotsa Prabhu, was, even too, I was thinking that even one of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciples, like you would think that, like having so much like information and knowledge and all those different things, practically, as far as I think like knowledge goes, he is practically as knowledgeable as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But even with all that information, still he had doubts and things arose and of that nature. Of course, I'm like simplifying the whole thing, but it just shows that so many different things. It's like you were saying, like the history's there with like so many devotees that are greater than ourselves, but somehow or other they had some trouble. So it just kind of makes the point that how careful we have to be, and like never think, anyways, that that what such and such thing can never happen to us. That we're like above Maya or whatever the situation is. That we have to take shelter even more and be like more focused and more determined, and just never cut ourselves off from that link. And then it's also too, it's not something that like, we know so much, therefore we can't be cut off or whatever the situation is. That we always have to eternally take shelter of the lotus feet of the spiritual master, and always have good association, so that we're not deviated from the proper path. So does somebody else have some question? You have Abadu? You can go. I think Chandan's running a little late, so you can ask.
I just have two comments, Prabhu. The point you brought about Shukadev Goswami not being like fully aware of the subject was like really far out, and then you fluffed that out further by having that citation, I think, from the 10th canto. Like by not being able to, fully describe the creation of King Parikshit like that. Yeah. Because you could say, Shukadev Goswami, he's, omniscient, knows everything like that, but he himself is admitting his humble position. So I thought that point you put forward was really brilliant. And, you mentioned this about, there's a lot of discussion about the spiritual master, but I only know this because Mahotsa Prabhu has said it, and you yourself repeated it. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote an essay about Thakur Bhaktivinoda, and this is found in the Harmonist, 1931 December, that this is stated here: there is an eternally impassable line of demarcation between the Savior and the saved. Those who are really saved can alone know this. So you were saying that you didn't know if it was Bhaktisiddhanta or Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but I guess it's a paper written by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur glorifying
Bhaktivinoda.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I know that.
I've always heard Mahotsa Prabhu say that. That's the only reason I know it, but I just researched it and found the citation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have anything? Yeah.
Just a comment.
We got time, don't worry.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So I was, I remember you saying that the point that a lot of people, they like atheists and like stuff like that, and it's like God's not here. I was like, obviously during this convention, there's so many irreligious people. Yeah. And then I was like, one of my lines is like, these books really help you get out of illusion and anxiety, and we're trying to break out of people out of the matrix and like stuff like that. And it's like, there was like a really nice verse actually that I found in that. It was like the second, where is it? Is this, I don't have the Sri, oh they do. So the second verse of the Sri Ishna Upanishad is like, oh, wait, no. What is it? Is this the first one?
Knowledge and mission side by side.
Let me see. Yeah, it's this one. So, one who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees like the living entities, the parts and parcels, who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, is like, it was like, it helps you like, there was another translation, it says here, never hates anything or any being, but it was like another one that says like it helps you free from illusion and anxiety. A man doesn't know illusion or anxiety because they see everything in part and parcel from the Lord. And like, you know, there's so many people who say like why is, if God's real, why doesn't he just like come and like show
Yeah.
himself to me, or like come talk to me directly, or like, you know, like why doesn't he just like come out of the sky or like something like that,
Yeah.
you know? And it's like these people are like so in the matrix that, you know, they don't understand that actually he is, you know, he's omnipresent, omnipotent. He actually does appear as, you know, as the deity, or as like the Maha Mantra, or like Srimad Bhagavatam itself.
Yeah.
So like, you know, it's like these people are just like in the matrix basically. And like, I like this verse a lot because like it was literally like, it's a good verse to use. I just found it a good verse to use on books to help
That's
you
good.
free from illusion and anxiety. So
Yeah, that's good.
it was like nice to
That's good.
correlate to that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to become qualified to see God.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of people. They say they want to see. But even too, we see that they were seeing when Krishna was on the planet, but still they were just like, nah.
Yeah, exactly. yeah.
Nah, that ain't God.
I was thinking about that too. Even though Krishna was like performing his pastimes, like people, even there's so many people who didn't like, no, this like,
Yeah.
he's not God. Yeah. He's just some ordinary boy.
You read Krishna book?
Yeah. I'm on chapter 53 now, where he's like about to steal Rukmini.
Oh, okay. Sooner you'll get to Pondraka. And Pondraka was, he dressed up like Krishna. He had like some benediction, I'm pretty sure. It's mentioned, I think, in the actual 10th canto, some of the commentary, that he got like a benediction, I think from Shiva or somebody. So he actually like had like a form like Vishnu. But anyways, he was saying that like, you know, Krishna's false and this and that, and like he was wanted to kill him and like take the Sudarshan chakra and everything. So he was saying he was Vishnu.
Oh my God.
Anyways, you have anything, Mason? All right. You have anything, Mondaji? All right. Thank you very much. We should always remember the mercy of the spiritual master and beg for his protection. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.